Hello and welcome back to Fresh Off the Reel. My name is Lib,
And my name is Spicy Pat. I'm like regular Pat, but my eyes are blue.
and today we're going to be talking about Dune Part 2, highly anticipated episode, I'm sure. Been a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute. I'm sure it'll happen again.
We said it last episode, but the goal now is an episode a month. So I want to aim for two, but we'll try. We'll
I
try our
mean,
best.
we do have the next episode planned. We can theoretically record that soon because it is a movie we've seen recently.
Yeah, we can record that like very soon.
Yeah,
Stick around until the end for us to reveal what the next episode is gonna be, or you could just be a weirdo and just skip all the way to the end. Why would you do that? Don't do that. We gotta talk about a movie here.
yeah. If you skip to the end, you're not going to hear this awesome epic joke I'm saying in three, two, one. There's no joke, but they don't know that because they skipped ahead.
Yeah, I got that. That's a good job. Good, that's good. All right. Today we're gonna be talking about Dune Part 2, 2024, directed by Denis Villeneuve, Mr. Montreal Man.
You gotta rep our people because we don't have many of them.
Yeah, we really don't. Especially not from like Montreal specifically. We got some from Quebec, not a lot from here. But we're gonna talk cinema.
Yeah, we do that sometimes.
Let's do
And
that.
and this time it's a movie that we both have held in high regard. We both gave this movie a lot of praise when it came out. It's been like not almost a year, but we're getting there. It's getting a year old. When this movie it came out in like January, right?
It came
January,
out came
February.
out this year. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but it came out like January, February, right? So it's getting up there. It's getting old. It's a year anniversary in a couple of months.
That's weird to think about. We're already like halfway. We're halfway through the year already.
We're more than halfway through. It's August.
Yeah. Jesus
Oh, this movie
Christ.
came out March 1st. Okay, I thought this was like literally the beginning of the year.
Well, I mean March is first quarter.
True.
So yeah, well, it's been a while. We're a little late to the party, but we still have a lot to say. We actually rewatched the movie recently.
Yeah, it was much worse than when I saw it in theaters. Still a great movie, but man, I'm happy I saw this in theaters.
God, I'm happy I saw this in theaters. I mean, first of all, the reason why I think he's saying that I think it's for the same reason is because you could barely fucking understand what they say in this movie.
It's a very quiet movie until it gets really unbearably loud, and there's no perfect balance on like computer speakers. Just watch it in theaters. You can't anymore. So I'm saying this for nothing. But if somehow you could find a way, watch it in theaters.
If you have like a nice speaker setup, like you're not using headphones, like you have a nice speaker setup for your TV, that's a good way to watch this movie. We got spoiled because not only did we see this in theaters, not only did we see this in IMAX, but we watched the exclusive day one 70 millimeter version, which was some of the greatest cinema I've ever seen in my life.
And I'll tell you what, watching it on my desktop monitors on my shitty headphones did not compare.
Really didn't. Like that was the way to see this movie. Like Tom Cruise might have been right when he said that, you know?
I mean, I feel the same way about Top Gun Maverick. I watched that in theaters in IMAX. I watched it at home. It's still a great movie, but I did not enjoy it anywhere near as much behind my desk. I think that means I need to watch Dune Part 2 again in my living room with my nice bigger TV in a room that's not with my headphones on. And maybe that'll be a nice middle ground. We'll see.
Yeah, this is a TV movie. It's not a headphones movie. That's the first time I've ever used that analogy.
If it has to be a headphones movie, maybe get better headphones than I'm currently using. I'm using kind of stinky headphones.
Yeah, that's probably part of it. I mean, I'm using pretty good headphones. We're getting off track. So, Dune Part 2 follows like immediately after Dune Part 1. Like straight up like 5 minutes later kind of thing. The wait I would say was worth it. We had to wait what? It was like 3 years, I think. Dune was 2021. So we had to wait 3 years for this movie, and as a reader of the book, I'm going to put on my nerd glasses real quick. This movie not that accurate to the book, to be honest. There's a lot that's missing, but I've said it before about other adaptations, and I'll say it again. You can change stuff from the source material if the change makes sense and if the change helps the movie be better, you know? Like, I can sit here for hours and say, oh, this character was missing, oh, this character was different. Like, Chani in this movie is, like, completely different than she is in the book. And there's no mention of Shom. The fight that happens at the end is not in the book at all. That might be surprising to some of you. There's a lot that's different, but it makes for a good movie. Like, there's nerds like me are the reason people said that the book a long time ago could never be adapted into a movie. And even after David Lynch tried in 84, and it was like honestly more accurate to the book than the Denis Villeneuve movies are, but that's what kind of made it bad. If you take everything one to one, you know, the book has some stupid shit in there that doesn't really work in a movie.
Yeah, I'm someone who hasn't read the book at all, and I have, to be perfectly honest, no interest in reading it. I'm not really a book reader. So I just want to ask a question, and I'm sure it's something you've explained while watching this movie because we watched it together.
Yeah.
Dune 1 and 2, like the movies, are an adaptation of the first book, correct?
Yep, it's just the first book.
Dune 3 is supposed to be Dune Messiah, which is the second book.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I wanted to clarify.
Yeah, this movie is basically the second half, more like 2/3 really, the second 2/3 of the book. Like the first movie kind of only covered like the first third. If you want to get really like nerdy, you could be like, "Oh, it didn't cover the book at all. It only scratched the surface." But like, you know,
I get what you mean. For a duology, I'll just call it a duology that covers the same story. It does a really good job at making them feel like two complete stories, though I have to give these movies credit. Like Dune 1 feels like the movie. Dune 1 feels like a completed movie, you know? And then this one also like it is a few minutes after the last movie ends, but it feels like it's the start and end of its own story, which I think is good when adapting books this way because like we don't really get a lot of adaptations that cut books in half like this, you know? Unless like there's like the Harry Potter, the last movie, I guess, but like or another two parters. But it doesn't happen as often as just singular book adaptations, obviously. And I think these two do a great job at kind of making both halves of this book, or however you decide to split it, feel like two completed stories in movie form.
yeah, it's done very well. The pacing is perfect between both movies. Even if you watch these two movies back to back, that is one downside. I would say if you watch these two movies back to back, it doesn't feel like you're watching one continuous movie. Like for example, like Kill Bill. If you're watching Kill Bill 1 and 2 back to back, it feels like one continuous movie.
Yeah, this feels like two movies.
Yeah, this feels like two separate movies. I have a feeling that's kind of what that's kind of what like Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse feel like. You know, if you watch those two back to back, it feels like two different movies.
I prefer that though. Like I think at least for a story like Dune, like the I feel like it works better. Obviously, I want Across and Beyond the Spider Verse to kind of more seamlessly flow into each other because they were written to be that way initially. But I think I don't know the way Denis did it for this movie and the writers. I'm not going to give Denis all the credit, but just the whole cast and crew did a great job at making these movies connect, but also feel independent. But obviously, you can't watch Dune Part Two without having seen the first movie.
Oh yeah, you have to
I
watch the
wouldn't I
first
wouldn't
movie.
recommend it. But it does a good job at feeling like its own story, which is good because you will get people who just kind of walk into this movie like the general audience. Right? A case in point is we had someone in the theater with us who had not seen the first movie.
Yep.
So like it's gonna happen. Like it's an unavoidable reality of just making movies. You're gonna have like that random straggler walk into the movie with their kids or whatever. And I think this movie does a good job at being independent, which is good. It's a great thing. This movie is good. I don't know if you got that impression from both of us yet. I gave it 4.5 stars.
I give it 5 stars.
I really, really enjoyed it. For all this sad Star Wars jokes people make, it is a very, very good movie. It is up there with the sci-fi greats, in my opinion.
It really is. I'm gonna take my nerd glasses off now because I want to try my best to not compare this movie to the book as much as possible. It might still happen here and there, but this is a separate entity. I would say, like, for people who are diehard fans of the book and you're looking for a direct adaptation, like you want to see the book on the big screen, this is not it. What this is more of like a kind of like a side dish to the book. It's done very well.
Yeah, and they proved to Disney, they did the impossible, that you can make a Star Wars movie that takes place completely on Tatooine and make it good. If only Disney thought to do that sooner.
Take notes, Disney. This is what a sci-fi movie should feel and look like. This is it's crazy how good this movie looks.
It's crazy how much better this movie is than most of modern Star Wars.
Yeah, oh my god, like for me, I think the only Star Wars movie that's better than Dune Part 2, Empire Strikes Back.
That movie is like 40 years old. Let that sink in.
So yeah, like I started saying earlier before I went off on a tangent on how much I fucking love this movie. It literally starts off right as part 1 ended. And if you want to hear our thoughts about part 1, we do have an episode on that. Go check it out. We basically just like this movie focuses very much on Paul, the character, as a character. There's a lot happening with Paul. In the first movie, it was kind of like it was all about the like Atreides family itself. There was a lot of Leto in the movie. There was a lot of Lady Jessica in the movie. But even in this movie, where Lady Jessica is a very prominent character, she doesn't have a lot of screen time as much as Paul does, even though she might, need a bit more screen time. I'd like to know actually if there was a like director's cut of this movie that might get released one day. This movie focuses a lot on Paul and a lot on Chani and their relationship. There's a lot of scenes that's just building up their characters. It's kind of a love story, a little bit, right?
A little bit, yeah. Obviously, if you've seen the movie, you know. If you know, you know. But it is definitely has the pieces of a love story.
And again, a lot we're focusing on Paul here, and the characterization is just done so fucking well. I like that the action takes a back seat for like the first half of the movie, and the second half of the movie, once the big change happens, which we'll get to in a little bit, the movie becomes all action, and it's just perfect. It's done so well. The action is so good. It's on like Mad Max Fury Road level. That's how good the action
yeah,
is.
for sure. It's so good. Speaking of movies we watched recently, but
Yeah.
yeah, this movie's fantastic. The whole like last act of this movie is just like your eyes are glued the entire time. It's so good.
I want to talk about Paul. He's the quote unquote hero of the story, right? But I want to ask you that, is he a hero?
He's kind of like Anakin.
Right.
I'd classify Anakin as the good guy in at least 2/3 of the prequel trilogy.
Paul, it's like the whole story of Dune is like a cautionary tale why you shouldn't be blindly following the rules and stipulations of religions and stuff like that. We're not going to get into the whole shit like that because oh my god, it's so convoluted. But the gist of it is Frank Herbert, the author of the original books, he was very careful about his beliefs, and he basically put all of his thoughts and beliefs into this book. Paul is basically, everybody thinks in the movie, everybody thinks Paul's the Messiah, and you have the northern Fremen and the southern Fremen. The southern Fremen who like believe without question that one day the Lisan al-Gaib will come and save them from this desert planet. And then the northern Fremen, some of them believe the same religion, but some of them are very skeptical. Like Chani, she's a northern Fremen. She doesn't really believe in this. And she's the voice of reason in this movie, which is pretty interesting because, they do end up falling in love. And there is a good there's a good dynamic happening here between Paul and Chani.
I like them together. I think they bounce off each other well, as because like Paul starts off the movie as someone who doesn't want power. He doesn't want to be idolized. He doesn't necessarily buy into everybody's prayers, and that shifts throughout the movie, of course, right? And that's where the conflict comes in their relationship. But I think they like bounce off each other very well. I think both Timothy Chalamet and Zendaya have really good chemistry in this movie, which is important because when you're bringing this kind of dynamic to the big screen, you need actors who can bounce off each other well and feel like they actually are people who give a shit about each other And they do great in this movie. We haven't talked about performances at all yet, but like just to throw that out there now, Timothy Chalamet as Paul is fantastic, and so is Zendaya as Chani. They're both really good. They shine in these roles. I almost say they're best of their career so far.
Yeah, I think I would say that too. Definitely for Timothy Chalamet.
Zendaya, I haven't seen a lot of stuff she's in. Here's your obligatory Spider-Man reference, but obviously that doesn't compare to this role at all. Like it's night and day. She's much better in this movie than she is as MJ in the MCU stuff.
Yeah, I hear she's really good in Challengers. I haven't seen it yet. I've been meaning to watch it.
Yeah, it's on my list, and I haven't seen any of it's Euphoria is the show, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Euphoria.
I haven't seen any of that. I heard she's great in that too. They're on my list. She's a very talented actress. I definitely think of the stuff I've seen, this is her best performance.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think so too. And that's real like Pat said, that's really important for these two characters. Like when you have a couple on screen in any movie, the two actors portraying the couple need to have actual chemistry or else we won't believe it, right? So the fact that Timothy Chalamet and Zendaya already have a great chemistry and you see it in this movie, it's just so done. It's done so well. The direction in this movie is done so well. I'm fully expecting Denis Villeneuve to win the Oscar for Best Directing for this movie next year at the Oscars. I'm fully expecting it, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I think direction and like VFX are shooing for at least this coming Oscar,
It's gonna be a Dune sweep once again.
and I will not be complaining unless Dune 3 is bad. I doubt it. But
you know, we'll have a little conversation about my expectations for the next movie at the end of this episode. Because I have a bit to say. I have a bit to say. From what we heard, I have a bit to say. But we'll keep that separate. So, what was I saying? Yes, at the beginning of the story, it's mostly about Paul trying to fit in with the Fremen. And it's, again, like I keep saying, done so fucking well. They do some funny jokes. It's like, oh, the white boy can't handle the spice, It's like he's trying to fit into this culture that he's never seen before, he's never heard of before. All he knows of it is what he's read in books. And actually trying to fit in with this society, he has a very hard time. Especially since, ever since the attack that happened on the Fremen in the last movie, the Southern Fremen and the Northern Fremen kind of have to work together and like have this one large group of Fremen that try to revolt over the Sardaukar. But you have this divide between the Northern Fremen and the Southern Fremen. One side, the Southerns, treat Paul like he's the Messiah, like he's the second coming of Jesus, and then the other side wants him gone. And it's done so well in the movie where you could really tell there's a strict divide between these two races of Fremen, or not races, but these two like groups of Fremen. And, like, you could even hear it in like the way they talk in the Fremen language. There is a dialect. you can hear it. The Southerners have a stronger dialect than the Northerners. The Northerners who speak more English because they have to communicate with the Harkonnen and the Atreides more often. Like, just God, like, I want to know who the dialect coach in this movie is. I don't think he's I don't know what he'd be credited under on Letterboxd, but man, props to them. They did an excellent job, like, differentiating between the two groups of Fremen, which the book actually doesn't really touch on that much, so it's good to see.
-1 point for the book.
+1 for the movie, plus 0 for the book. I'll be honest with you guys, okay? I mean, it's probably gonna be clear. I prefer the movie over the book. Ooh, I just angered the book nerds.
We're pissed now. I haven't read the book, so I have no point of comparison.
The book is very, like, I mean, it was written in 1940s, I think. Let me just
I'm not a book reader, just in general.
1960s.
And based on how like packed the movies are, and knowing that there's stuff that didn't like make the cut, I think the book would be a lot for my small pea brain.
The book is a lot for a lot of people. Like, I was wrong. It wasn't 1940s. It was 1960s. The book is very much like, it introduces a new character. Like, let's say Paul meets Chani for the first time, and it would spend an entire chapter explaining Chani. Not like her backstory or whatever, just like what she's wearing, what her personality is like, what does she like to do, what's her spare time, how old is she, what's her parents' names, What part of Arrakis does she come from?
The Ready Player One's thing, but not to that extreme, of course. But
Yeah, it's like to the like I remember our friend Stefano at Toon Man, shout out to Toon Man. He compared it to how it's explained, how things are explained and characters are explained in American Psycho, the novel that the movie was based on. It's very much like that, but in American Psycho, it actually makes a lot of sense because the character is very particular about his surroundings, and he captures every little detail. It's part of his character. So it makes sense in that book. But in Dune, it's just like, I wouldn't say it's filler because it is important for the world building and explain the lore, but
and it's like it's not a visual medium, right? You're reading a book, so they have to like paint the picture, and that's what all that's there for. I haven't read the book, so I can't comment.
yeah, it's like in Kingdom Hearts where Square Enix feels the need to explain every little thing.
Yeah, but unlike Kingdom Hearts, so this is good. I love Kingdom Hearts, by the way. Kingdom Hearts 2 is one of my favorite games ever made, but fuck how that story tells you anything. That whole franchise. This is not related, not a video game podcast, but everyone who says the Kingdom Hearts story is complicated, no, it's not. The story is just told to you in the worst fucking way possible. It is written by people who don't know how to tell a story. Playing Kingdom Hearts is like someone reading a book to you and leaving out crucial information. Love those games, by the way. But anyway, that's enough of that.
Yeah, good games. Good
God,
job.
I hope they make a Kingdom Hearts movie.
It would tell the story way better.
Or worse. Well, maybe it'll be worse.
Who knows? Square Enix has a pretty bad track record for movies. So does Disney lately.
I want a live action Kingdom Hearts movie. I want live action Donald Duck and Goofy.
I want that too. Anyways. I had to think about it. I was like, that's actually a funny idea. I like that. I guess this is a good segue to the actual overarching story, which is that this movie is about Paul's transformation from regular old Paul Atreides into the Messiah, the Kwisatz Haderach. And you have to say it like that, or else I'll kill you.
I'm never even gonna attempt to pronounce that properly, or say it at all. This is when Anakin turns into Vader. That's how I'm gonna say it.
We saw glimpses of it in the last movie. Kwisatz Haderach is a ultimate being that lives inside of Paul. Kind of like the thing with Ganondorf in The Legend of Zelda, where whenever a Bene Gesserit woman gives birth, okay, just a heads up, this is like a very oversimplification of what the Bene Gesserit can actually do. If I don't say that, the book nerds are gonna come for me. But yeah, they are able to control what kind of gender the baby's gonna have, and they usually as a pact, as part of their religion / cult / witchhood. Again, this is a huge oversimplification. They usually give birth to a woman, but when they give birth to a man, there's a chance that he can have the spirit of the Kwisatz Haderach. Again, very, very basic explanation of this. Paul has it. Whoop-de-frickin-do. We saw that in the last movie. Every time he's in a lot of stress, the Kwisatz Haderach comes out and takes over. In this movie, we're seeing his gradual transformation and takeover of the Kwisatz Haderach, where he becomes the Lisan al-Gaib. Every time I say it, I have to say it like that. And frees Arrakis. That's the goal of this movie.
For all you weebs out there, say the god's name again. I'm not gonna say it.
The Kwisatz Haderach.
Yeah, that's Kurama, and Paul is Naruto. That's for all the weebs out there.
Ooh, wow. I don't get that reference.
I don't get this movie.
He still gave it 4.5.
No, I get it. I'm joshing.
And as Pat mentioned before, the pacing is perfect. You got that gradual, at first he doesn't want to be seen as the Messiah. He doesn't want to be worshipped. But as the film goes on, as time goes on, and he falls deeper in love with Shani and gains a deeper understanding and a deeper respect for the Fremen people, he starts giving in and he starts leaning into the whole idea of being their Messiah. The power goes to his head, and eventually at the midpoint of the movie. That's when the big change that I mentioned earlier happens, and drinks the blue goo and becomes the Kwisatz
He does drink blue goo. He drinks the milk from The Last Jedi.
It's the blood from a sandworm, though I've seen a lot of memes that it's like the piss of the sandworm, and I hate that.
You know what goo it is. It's not piss or blood. You know.
Let's just say we don't fully know where the blue goo comes from.
Don't worry about it. It's that we just have it. Okay, you're gonna drink it.
But of course, what's a movie without a villain? What's a movie without a conflict? This is a sci-fi movie. We gotta have a villain, and this villain is like the fucking best written villain I think I've ever seen in a movie. Honestly, I'm putting that out there.
You think Elvis is the greatest villain in film?
You're damn right. I think that.
I can't dance. I can't sing. Way.
His name's Fade, played by Austin Butler. Every time he's on screen, he's got the like biggest presence. You can really feel when he's on screen. It's so hard to explain how perfect this casting was and how perfect his portrayal of this character was. I was so looking forward to this because in the book, the Harkonnen, they're very, very bad people, and they do some pretty fucked up shit. But one thing I knew was going to be in this movie, I knew Fade would be there, and I was so excited to see what they would do. My God, they did not disappoint. He is pretty different like the rest of the characters in this movie. Honestly, the only character in this movie that's at all similar to their version of the book is Lady Jessica, and she still acts pretty different. But yeah, the way we get introduced to Fade is, I mean, this scene has been talked about all over the internet ever since the movie came out. Everybody knows it's probably the best scene in the whole movie is the fight on Gady Prime.
The Coliseum fight, yeah.
Oh my God. What a great showing of acting and directing, cinematography, music, choreography. Everything is just so well done here. Like, if we could give Oscars to specific scenes from movies, this would get all of them.
It's this movie does fights very well, which is not something I would have expected coming into this, but it does them very, very well. Like, this, whoever did the fight choreography for this movie, like big clap to you, because you did a great job. Disney needs to hire them to do some lightsaber fights, because I want some cool lightsaber fights.
Imagine these guys doing a lightsaber fight. Imagine these guys choreographing a lightsaber fight. That would, holy shit. I'm seeing that in my head right now. Looks pretty good. But, you know, if they do that, Disney's gonna fuck it up somehow. They always do. Speaking of performances, Dave Bautista did pretty good in this movie too. You don't really see him as like an amazing like A-tier actor, S-tier actor, I mean, right? We've only pretty much seen him as Drax for a very long time.
I think we need to put respect on Batista's name, okay?
Yeah.
He's a good actor. He's just a very... This is going to sound like a backwards compliment because I'm going to call him one note. But, like, we see him a lot in the same kind of roles. But when he's given a chance to shine and play something outside of his comfort zone, he is a solid actor. I think obviously he's not... You know, he's getting up there. He's getting older. He's probably not going to do a lot of these big high action movies anymore, but I think it's where he shines. He often plays like the dumb, like the idiot character, and I think we need to put that behind him because he's capable of doing better. But between this and like Glass Onion, he's a good actor. Blade Runner, he's a good actor. We need to put some respect on his name. And he needs to stop playing dumb muscleheads and just let him put some passion into his performances. He'll do well.
His performance in Dune is like in the first movie it was fine, like I didn't have huge praises, but in Dune Part 2 his vocal range, like he screams a lot in this movie, and I mean, like, even in the fucking poster, look at him with his mouth wide open. He's got some serious range. It sounds very visceral, and it works very well with the Harkonnen. Like, they're this very like dark black and white. It matches with the like visceral nature and the brutality of the Harkonnen, and he does it very well. It's also like a bit with the directing of this movie. Again, it's just so good. Denis Villeneuve, you're fantastic, man. And then you have Baron, the Baron Harkonnen,
The big guy.
big guy, played by Stellan Skarsgård.
Yeah, he's great in this movie.
Yeah, we talked about him in the last episode, the episode about Dune. He was really good in that movie, and he's just as good in this movie. He really sinks into the role, no pun intended. It's great. It's so great.
You really feel his death too. For someone who's this like big, powerful guy, he's like taken out like a bitch. But like you feel the impact of his death regardless. Like he got what was coming to him, you know, and it felt good.
Yeah, especially after seeing him cheat to death in the last movie. He died cheaply. Like, in his eyes, he probably sees it that way.
Yeah, he would probably see it that way. He goes out like a bitch.
Yeah.
I have a better way to describe it, but he goes out like a bitch.
If this were Mad Max, he would not go to Valhalla. Well, let's talk about the fights.
This movie like leans into the action a little harder. We got Josh Brolin too, who's big fighting guy. He's in this movie again. We didn't talk about him, but he's also good in this one. He's Josh Brolin.
He's Josh Brolin. Yeah, we didn't really talk about him. I don't even think we really talked about him for the episode of Dune
I don't think
Part
we
1.
talked about him in Dune either, but he's back. He's in this movie. He's good. He's a good fighting guy.
Yeah, he's really good.
He's a good action star. He has a presence behind his stance, his face. Like he's intimidating, you know. And he's good. And he's back for the action in this one.
We got some pretty fucking amazing fight scenes in this movie with Josh Brolin. The fights in the first half are very like there's a lot of like shooting, explosions and stuff like that. But then the second half leans very heavy into like hand-to-hand combat.
This movie does just in general leans into the action a bit harder in general. I think the action is a lot more grandiose in this one. Obviously, like when things needed to happen, when it needed to be impactful and needed to be important in the first movie, you felt it there too. But I feel like this movie's action is like dialed up to 11. It's just more, you know, and better. It's better executed. It's more enjoyable. It's better to watch. It's still, the action's great. I can't stress enough how good a lot of the fight scenes. Even like there's like a one-on-one knife fight at the end of the movie between Austin Butler and Timothy Chalamet, and even that was like awesome. Like that was it's like more like chill quote unquote fight compared to the other things in the movie. But you're hooked, like you just can't get your eyes off it. And I think that's something the action in this movie just does better than the first one. It hooks you in more.
Yeah, one thing this movie gets very well, like again, like I'm saying that a lot, but like God, this movie's good. Hans Zimmer was the composer for this movie. One thing this movie does almost perfectly is its soundtrack and its sound design. It feels so good to hear the sound that the music that's playing during the fight scenes really adds a lot of tension and a lot of it makes the fight feel bigger. But that last fight, the one-on-one between Austin Butler and Timothy Chalamet, there's no music. That's just a great example of Hans Zimmer's genius, that he knows when to pull back and not put any music. And also Denis Villeneuve, who directed the scene. There was a lot of thought being put into these fight scenes and a lot of thought being put into that final one specifically. It's so well choreographed. Not having the music, I know I just said having the music makes it feel like a more important, like a higher tension fight, but not having music has the same effect.
Like when it goes quiet and you just hear the sounds. There's a term for that, right? Like
The punching sound effects.
like you hear the world, you know, the weapons clashing, the characters grunting, the raw energy of this scene is all you need to carry it forward. It does it very well.
It does
You know,
it so good.
music is great, and obviously I like a score elevates the scene, but not having a score isn't a bad thing either. Like for certain moments, right? I think things getting quiet drags you in, you know, and it's good. It's a great time. This movie is real good. We've been saying that a lot, but this movie is fantastic.
It's in the top 10. Honestly, it's for me, it's in the top 10. There's so much I love about this movie. I mean, I've been pretty incoherent and all over the place talking about this movie this whole episode, but it's just so many good things I like about this movie that it's hard to keep it in check. I should have wrote a script for this episode, but you know, we do these unscripted.
It's off the cuff.
There's a character that we've neglected to talk about, because I wanted to save it for the end because I have the most to talk about. I think it's time to talk about him. Javier Bardem's character. He plays Stilgar. This performance might be the best in the whole movie, and it might be Javier Bardem's best performance, up there, like right next to No Country for Old Men.
I don't know if it tops No Country for Old Men, but it's good. He's really good in this movie. Like, don't get me wrong, but No Country for Old Men is such a like. Oh, I could that's a movie I would love to talk about more. But yeah, he's really good in this movie. I think he really portrays a like religious extremist, like full send type of character very well. Where he kind of like ropes you into buying what he's selling, even though like the movie is balancing whether he's right or wrong. He does a good job at kind of pulling you in when he's speaking with his presence. He's really good in this movie.
When you're portraying a character that's already been written out in a book, right? There's a fine line that you could decide to cross. You can either be on like the complete other side where the character is nothing like the character in the book, or you can go on the other side and just like it's exactly the same as the book. Most of the characters in this movie fall on the side where it's kind of nothing like the book. But Javier Bardem's character, Stilgar, kind of stays on that line where it's like the perfect balance between adapting his character directly from the book and having some new stuff. And boy, the new stuff is just, it works so well for his character. Everything he does is just it's perfect. It's like this performance is perfect. Stilgar's such a good character, and I know people kind of turned him into a meme with the whole "Lisan al Gaib."
Yeah, he the internet has definitely memed him a tad too much, but it doesn't take away from the performance. Like, it should still be said that it is a really strong performance, despite the memes.
It's an amazing performance, Oscar worthy, I would say. Well, that's just me. I might be extremely biased because I love Dune so much and I love Stilgar so much.
It's gonna be a tight race. I don't know if we can't give nominations to everybody on this cast, Lib.
But they're all so good. There is one I didn't like very much, and it's Christopher Walken as the Emperor.
He's hardly in the movie.
Yeah, he's hardly in the movie, so it's fine, you know. I don't know what the general consensus with the Emperor is in this movie. I kind of like the Emperor. I don't like how underused he is. Point for the book. The casting of Christopher Walken is like, it's not a weird choice, it's not a bad choice.
I like Christopher Walken, and I definitely think part of it is because he's so underutilized, but he comes off as like the decrepit old man in this movie, and I'm not sure if that's how the character is supposed to be. Granted, like when I think of the Emperor, obviously my pea brain immediately goes to Palpatine, right? And this is not the same character as Palpatine at all, so it's not a fair comparison. But I just feel like the decrepit old man and Emperor don't stand side by side. And I like I said, I've not read the book. Maybe it's intentional. Obviously, the Emperor is on his way out. Even more so with how the movie ends with the deal being made for Paul to marry Florence Pugh's character. So the Emperor is clearly on his way out anyway. So maybe the decrepit old man is the intention, but he kind of feels like he has no presence in the room. And maybe a character like the Emperor probably should have had some kind of on-screen presence. Not Christopher Walken's fault; he's a great actor. I think that was the intention, and I just don't think it lands for me.
In the book, the Emperor is built up a lot. They talk about him all the time. We have scenes in the book. Well, I don't know how to say it in book terms, but we have parts in the book where his character is talked about a lot. He's very fleshed out in the book, but in the movies, and I know the movies make it like the Emperor is not that important of a character, and in some ways he's not. But I think it's just my bias for the book, I think it's just my bias coming out. But I think the character, the Emperor, is much more important than the movies put him out to be. So I'm a little disappointed that the Emperor not only was like not in the last movie at all, but he's only in like 5 minutes total, maybe, in this movie. Maybe if they used the Emperor in the last movie, I'd appreciate it a bit more. I probably would have, I definitely would have. But I see the direction that the movie's going in for the Emperor. I just personally don't really like it.
Yeah, same. Like I feel like he has no presence.
And like he's the emperor of the known galaxy, so like the known universe. So like we should have more information about him. I mean, we know from the last movie, like they speak about the Emperor through word of mouth. They speak it, but we never see him. But we know from the last movie, the Emperor is the one that called the hit on the Atreides. The Emperor is the one that did the whole deal of sabotaging the Atreides. The Emperor doesn't really like the Atreides, and the Emperor follows the word of the Bene Gesserit. We know that from the first movie, but we don't get to see it. We only hear it. Again, in the direction the movies are going in, I see it working. Like having the Emperor, like, we don't have to see him really. We could cut some stuff from the book. Like I said before, you can adapt things from the book, or you can choose to do something else as long as it works for the story, and it does work for the story in the movie. I don't know why I'm making such a big case about the Emperor.
Yeah, that's, I don't know.
I guess I'm just like, because I know the Emperor is a fan favorite character, and I know they're very disappointed about the Emperor's portrayal in the movie. I'm okay with it. It's just not what I wanted. I am a nerd, guys. I like the book. I really like it.
we have a lot of Pat talks a lot about things episodes, so this is your time to shine. You had Dune 1, you have Dune 2.
I finally get a time. Pat's gonna get a lot of time to talk next episode.
Yeah, nice. Mild hint, but next one's a big Pat Talks episode. Get ready for a 3-hour conversation about the color of spandex.
Oh, I can't wait. We're back, baby. There's one more scene I want to talk about. It's my personal favorite scene. Like the best scene is probably the one on Giddy Prime, but my personal favorite is because it's done. It's exactly the way I wanted it to be. 2 scenes, actually. The scene where Paul drinks the blood of life, and the final, like, the battle at the end, like the big battle at the end. Let's talk about the big battle first, because that one's quicker. In the book, we don't actually see this battle. You might be surprised to hear that. We see, like, basically the, like, final few chapters are, like, we're in, like, a council room with a bunch of world leaders and Paul and some other people, and they're, like, talking about what's happening on Arrakis without actually showing us what's happening on Arrakis. Another example of, why people thought the book could never work as a movie, point for movie. Actually being able to see this fight, instead of, like, picturing what it could look like, was one of the best film experiences I've ever had in my life. Especially, like, being coming from the book, a reader of the book, an enjoyer of the book, watching the battle actually being played out on the screen was a dream come true, honestly. That scene alone brought it from, like, 5-star movie, I really like it, to 5-star movie, it is now one of my favorite movies of all time. Especially since I saw it in the theater. That was the way to see that scene. My god, when they're all, like, when the Sardaukars, like, all, like, they're like, they hear the noises and the storm's coming in, they're like, oh fuck, what's going on? 3 sandworms come in and they're riding the sandworms. It's like, oh my god, it's so good.
The writing the sandworms in general is awesome. Like, the scene where Paul first does it successfully, I should say, is so cool. The sandworms and all, like, writing the sandworms shit is awesome. It's just sick.
It's so good. It's so good. The movie's so good. This movie's so good, guys.
They're gross. I don't like the sandworms. I would never want to see one.
Shut
but
the
cool.
fuck up, you blasphemous man.
Right. If I saw one of those in real life, I'd die. I'm admitting death.
What if you saw an Alaskan bullworm?
That's worse. I like the sandworms more than the Alaskan bullworm. I don't like the Alaskan bullworm.
You know, I have a question for you. I might cut this out. I don't know. I have a question for you, Pat.
Yes.
Okay. Because there's a bit of a divide in the Dune community. I want to get your opinion on this.
Okay. Hot takes on the Fresh Off the Reel podcast.
There's the way the sandworms are described in the book they look like this. I'll show you in the Discord. Boom. They have a tri-jaw. Okay?
Okay.
Right? This is what I'm showing you right now. This is what...
It looks cool. I think I like this more than the...
You like the tri-jaw?
I think I like the tri-jaw more, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, just for point of reference, I mean, you know what they look like, but just you know, just for point of reference.
Yeah, but please delete these from the chat after we're done this conversation. I don't want to look at them. I like the way it looks in the movie. Like, it looks cool. I think the tri-jaw makes them look more alien.
So, I think... When I look at the tri-jaw, I cannot unsee a penis.
Oh yeah, that is. I wasn't gonna say it. I did. That's a penis. that is penis with foreskin.
So there is a big divide in the Dune community where some people prefer the tri-jaw and some people prefer the circular mouth. I prefer the circular mouth. I think it looks awesome. I love the teeth. That's why I like it.
Yeah, I like it too, but I think the Trijaw has teeth too. It's just they're not as
They're not the same.
they're not the same. Like it's less teeth. It's teeth inside the mouth. Like it's different. But like I like the I think the Trijaw looks more alien.
I will agree on that. The tri-jaw does look more alien. They're described this way in the book, like this is what they look like. I don't know. Denis Villeneuve's version of the sandworm just looks so. It looks amazing, man. I love it. All right, I'll delete them.
I never want to look at that again until Dune Messiah.
For all the tri-jaw lovers out there, the baby sandworm in the scene where Paul drinks the blood of life, when the baby sandworm dies and the like inner skin or whatever of the sandworm pops out, it's a tri-jaw. Point for you guys. But I really like the circular mouth. I feel like I don't know. I feel like it works better for a sand creature. I know I'm in the minority though, so take with that as you will. Point for tri-jaws. The sandworms in this movie, obviously they're CG, but like the texture that they're standing on, like when they go close up with the camera and they're like they have their hooks on the skin of the sandworm, I'm pretty sure that's practical. I'm not 100% sure. It looks practical. If it's not practical, that's even more impressive because I thought it was practical.
I'm pretty sure it's CG.
The lighting in this movie, everything looks so real. Like it looks like Arrakis is a real place, and that's part of the reason why this movie just looks so good, because it really like convinces you that this sand planet is real. Such a great fight scene at the end. That battle's amazing. The explosions are awesome. The setup is great. Seeing Gurney and Paul and Chani and the rest of the characters all plan this out and execute it with no mistakes. Usually in movies like this where they plan out a huge attack, there's always a goes wrong.
Update, that is practical.
It is practical. Hell yes. Where you could do it practical, you should do it practical. CGI should be reserved for impossible shots. Good on you, Mr. Villeneuve, for using practical effects in this sand movie. Usually in movies like this where they have like this huge fight planned and then they execute the plan, usually something will go wrong. It's awesome to see something like this go right. Everything goes exactly to plan, and like, oh my god, the explosions look amazing. It felt so good watching this in a movie theater. So sorry if you haven't seen this movie and you're listening to this episode now and we're telling you to watch it in theater, but now you can't.
Hey, maybe when Dune Messiah comes out, it'll get a limited re-release.
Yeah, maybe.
I think Dune 1 did.
No, I don't think. I mean, not here at least, because if it did, I would have went to see it.
I know here there was both movies back to back.
Yeah, I know there was that. That was. I was debating on going to that one actually, but no one else wanted to. So.
Yeah, it's long. I would not have gone to that.
Yeah, and it was at midnight. Like, you would have walked out of the theater at like 4 a.m, 5 a.m, Probably not the best. But yeah, I love that scene. And then my other favorite scene is the one where Paul drinks the blood of life, but more specifically after he like wakes up and everything. Basically, it's like the first scene we see with where Paul is fully taken over by the Kwisatz Haderach. He's got like the knowledge of the universe, and the reason why it's one of my favorite scenes, it probably is my favorite scene in the whole movie, even though it's such a simple scene, is because in the whole movie, we see Paul, he's like not too sure about things. He's still learning the ropes. He's very nervous. He's not sure if he could do this. But as soon as the Kwisatz Haderach takes over, oh, sorry, I said it wrong. The Kwisatz Haderach takes over. You can see it in his hand in that scene. His hand is so still, and he moves his hand so elegantly, so still, while he's explaining how he can see like every possibility. His visions are clear now. They're not blurry anymore. It's like he could straight up see the future now. And he's talking to his mother about it, and she also drank the blood of life, and she has pretty much the same knowledge as him, and she's still scared. She's scared of him. The Kwisatz Haderach is such a powerful, terrifying being that even Paul's own mother is scared of her son now from how much power he has. It's an extraordinarily well done scene.
Good movie.
Such a good movie.
We didn't mention her, but Paul's sister plays a role in this movie as well, as a fetus, and also as a fully grown adult for one scene.
Yeah, that's as one of Paul's visions. Played by Anya Taylor-Joy. Regular listeners of this podcast know my opinion on Anya Taylor-Joy.
Well, she's in the second book, right?
Yep, Paul's sister plays a pivotal role in the second book. But yeah, we will see Paul's sister in the third movie. I guess that's a good segue to start talking about the third movie. Have you got everything you want to say about Dune Part
Yeah,
2?
you can go crazy. I have nothing to say about this third movie. I have not read the book. This is Lib's moment.
Well, I have read Dune Messiah. I will say of the original trilogy, which is Dune, Dune Messiah, and then Children of Dune. Dune Messiah is my least favorite. Basically, that book was written out of spite because almost everybody misunderstood the point of the first book. Frank Herbert, out of anger and spite, basically wrote the second book to try and explain the first book and then add some new stuff to make it clearer on what the point was supposed to be. And, you know, it's still not 100% clear on what he was exactly trying to say. Unfortunately, he passed away, so we can't really ask him. And his son is doing what Disney is doing to Star Wars, so we can't really ask him either. We're not going to get into the whole tangent of what Frank Herbert's son is doing to the Dune franchise. We'll leave that to the professionals. I haven't read any of his son's books. I haven't read past God Emperor of Dune, which is the fourth book. I should read Heretics of Dune, but Dune Messiah is a little all over the place. It's a weird book. You can definitely feel the difference between Dune Messiah and Dune. And Denis Villeneuve did confirm he is doing Dune Part 3. He is doing Dune Messiah. It is an adaptation of Dune Messiah. It's probably going to be the entirety of Dune Messiah in one movie, which is honestly easier to do than the first book, so it shouldn't be a huge problem. Like, maybe it'll lean on 3 hours, which kind of sucks, but, you know, whatever. The thing I'm a little afraid about is the same reason why people were afraid of a film adaptation of the first book, is I'm not really sure if it's going to work as a movie, especially since no one's ever tried to adapt Dune Messiah yet. This is going to be the first time. People have done countless attempts to adapt the first Dune into a movie, but Dune Messiah has been untouched as far as I know. So we'll see. I'm cautiously excited for Dune Part 3. I will be in theaters. I will be watching it. I'm sure Pat will too. I mean, we will be in that. Our asses will be in those seats for Dune Part 3. But I'm a little worried. But I'm sure it'll be okay. It's in Denis Villeneuve's hands. He's literally never taken an L in his entire life.
I trust him. I don't know anything about the story of the second book, so I have no expectations going into it. But I will be seated because I trust him behind the camera. I trust him at the helm of this movie.
Yeah, I trust Denis. I think he'll make this a great movie. I think this will be a great send-off to his trilogy of Dune films, because he also has confirmed this is his last Dune movie. Dune Part 3 is the last time he's doing a Dune movie, and I'm actually pretty happy about that because I didn't want him to be known as just the Dune guy. I'm really excited to see what his film after Dune 3 is going to be. It's going to be something completely original. Like, if it is something completely original, my ass will be in a seat for that as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely on board with whatever he puts out for the rest of his career, because he's a very, very strong director. He has made some of the best movies I've ever seen.
But with that being said, that's pretty much it for Dune Part 2. I mean, is there anything else you want to add?
Well, I'm good. I'm good here.
Yeah, so all in all, amazing performances, damn near perfect performances, I would say. Amazing soundtrack, amazing visuals, amazing story, amazing everything. It is exactly what I wanted. This movie and Dune Part 1, both together, are exactly what I wanted from a Dune adaptation, because the book is so fucking weird. It's so, honestly, it's breathtaking that someone can actually make sense of the book and make it into a decent movie, because it straight up had not been done before 2021. Round of applause to Denis Villeneuve. Another 5-star movie. Can't wait for the next one. With that, it's time to move on to our little TV show segment. We did watch, I watched Echo. I don't know if Pat watched Echo.
I did not watch Echo. I did not watch Star Wars Acolyte.
Yeah, so I watched Echo and Star Wars Acolyte. Echo is okay. Echo's watchable. Okay, I shouldn't say that.
I heard Echo was alright. I heard it was good.
Echo is pretty good.
I did not watch it, but I heard it was good.
Echo was pretty good, like 3 stars, 3 out of 5, I would say. Acolyte is like a 1.5 out of 5.
Yeah, I was gonna watch it, and then I remembered that I don't enjoy Star Wars anymore. That's not true. That's an exaggeration. I have no interest in watching it.
Do you want me to explain like in one sentence, what Acolyte feels like to watch?
Sure.
Acolyte is the culmination of everything that is bad about Disney Star Wars.
Good. I'm excited then for when I inevitably watch it.
Yeah. You're gonna love it. And I think besides that, oh yeah, season 2 of Smiling Friends came out.
Didn't watch that either.
Pat, come on.
I've watched 14 seasons of Chicago Fire and PD. That is what I've been up to in my spare time.
Pretty good shows. I was the Chicago Saga.
I've seen 8 seasons of Chicago Fire, 7 seasons of Chicago PD, and 1 season of Chicago Med. That's what I've been doing with my free time lately.
And a few episodes here and there of Law and Order, right?
Yeah, and a few episodes here and there of Law and Order, because fuck everything, I guess.
If you guys know, then you know.
Yeah, I will not be discussing that here.
I watched season 2 of Smiling Friends. It was exactly what I wanted. More Smiling Friends. I loved it. I think season 1 is still a little bit better than season 2. Season 1, I don't think there were any episodes that I straight up didn't like. But in season 2, there was one episode that I straight up didn't like, and it was Mr. President. That episode I found not that funny. Not funny at all, really. I don't want to be too harsh on it. I'm sure one day on this podcast we will talk about Smiling Friends because I love Smiling Friends.
I liked the first season. I will get to the second season.
Maybe we'll do a whole episode dedicated to Smiling Friends, like the whole show. I mean, it's short enough. I mean, it only takes like 2 hours to watch everything from Smiling Friends, so...
That's shorter than this movie.
Yeah, it is shorter than Dune Part 2, so yeah. We will talk about Smiling Friends. We will. And with that, we're going to move on to Backloggd, the segment where we recommend each other movies to talk about in the next episode.
The last time, which was like a year ago.
Okay, not a year ago.
Lib recommended me 2 films. Or I should say Lib recommended me 1 and then I watched 2 because he mentioned another one. So last time, Lib recommended Apocalypse Now and then he mentioned RRR. So I watched both in November of 2023. So
was it November 2023?
The last episode went out in August of 2023, Lib. So it was a while ago.
No, it was that's not. We did the year in review on the Oscars.
I mean, the episode where you recommended me those movies.
Oh yeah.
And according to my Letterboxd diary, I watched both those movies in November of 2023, and that had to have been after you recommended them to me, because I said I didn't watch both, and I watched both. But then we rewatched Apocalypse Now together a couple days ago. I did not rewatch RRR for this podcast. I'm sorry, guys. Both are long movies. One is significantly longer than the other, and that is Apocalypse Now. I feel I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. It's a good movie. I acknowledge that it's a good movie. I gave it a 4 out of 5.
I gave it 4.5.
When I watched the movie in November, it was a 4.5, and then when I watched it the other day, I lowered it to a 4. And there's one big reason for that. This movie's long. This movie is 2.5 hours long, and it feels like it's 4.
Well, RRR is 3 hours long.
And that felt shorter.
Apocalypse Now is, it's one of the most classic war movies out there.
It deserves its status as one of the greatest movies ever made. I'm not denying. I think it's a very good movie. I just don't. It's not a movie I would rewatch. I think it's a movie I've experienced once, and I enjoyed it. And then I rewatched it, and I enjoyed it less the second time. So I think I'm just not gonna watch it anymore. It's a great film. It's an interesting take on war movies. It's more of a psychological, like, this is the effect wars have on people kind of war movie, as opposed to something like 1917, which is like about the war, or at least you see the war happening firsthand during it. And you see it in this movie too. I don't want to pretend like you don't see any of the war in this movie, because you definitely do. But it does feel more like a psychological, not a horror.
Thriller.
It's like than a straight up action war movie, and it's really good. I would recommend it if you haven't seen it. Just be ready to. It's a lot. It's a heavy watch. You have to pay attention. You have to dedicate the time to it, but it is worth the time.
If you value your time at all, please don't watch the Redux version.
Yeah, I heard the Redux version is worse. I have not seen it, but I watched the theatrical cut both times, and I'm okay with this.
The theatrical cut is a lot better. Like, it's kind of like with it's like the opposite with the original Blade Runner. Like with the original Blade Runner, the final cut is probably the best. There's a lot of people that say the theatrical cut is better. I like the theatrical cut. Blade Runner is a complicated thing because there's like 5 different cuts of that movie. But for Apocalypse Now, it's pretty like unanimously decided the theatrical cut is the better version, because in the Redux, it's like another hour. Like usually in recuts of movies, it's like, oh, it's like another 20 minutes, another 15 minutes maybe. But no, it's like 40 something minutes to like an hour. I can't remember exactly how much. And the scenes they add pretty much nothing to the story. It's basically like they took all the deleted scenes and put it in the movie, which is not how you should do director's cuts. So I would not, I would highly recommend not watching the Redux unless you really like Apocalypse Now.
But I would recommend this movie. It's good.
Yeah, very good.
I don't dislike war movies, but maybe yeah, if you do dislike war movies, this is not going to change your mind. But it's a good one. It is up there. It definitely deserves the status it has. And I just think it's long. It's a long movie. And as I'm aging, I'm having a smaller stomach for long movies. Is something I'm noticing.
Yeah, I think it's just starting to feel fatigue from how much movies we've seen.
I think this is another movie I probably would have enjoyed better if I was sitting on a couch watching it on TV instead of sitting at my desk.
I'm noticing that for a lot of movies I watch.
It just behind a monitor at your desk is not the right way to watch movies.
It's really not. Yeah.
I watch a lot of movies on my phone in bed, and that's not a better way either. So what do I know? And the other movie was RRR. I did not rewatch that for this podcast. I watched it in November. It's very, very, very good. I was very surprised with how much I enjoyed this movie. It is a war movie. It is a musical. It's good. It's very good. It deserved a lot of the praise it got during the Oscar season. Wish it got some more attention, honestly.
Yeah, I cannot believe this didn't get nominated for Best Picture.
It's really good. This is on Netflix. So if you have Netflix, it's very easy to. At least when I watched it, it was on Netflix. It might be gone now.
I think it still is. It's still on Netflix in the Canada and the US.
Yeah. So if you have Netflix, please watch this movie. Support it any way you can. It's really good. It's fantastic.
It's like one of the best indie films I've ever seen. I don't know if it counts as an indie film, but like it's one of the best international movies I've ever seen. So well done. Like the duo of the two main characters is it's so good. The acting is great. If you could find the original audio for this movie, that's better. The one on Netflix is like a redub. It's a little
Is it?
weird.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that. Okay.
The one on Netflix is a redub. At least the one I from when I remember watching it. I don't know if it's different now, but it's like a weird redub. It's not redubbed in English either. Well, the way they redubbed it is they made the characters who spoke English in the movie, they redubbed their lines in English, but the characters that spoke Indian still speak Indian, but with a different dub voice. It's weird.
I really didn't know that. Okay.
But if you can find out there somewhere, because I tried my best, but I couldn't find it. But if you guys could find the original audio of RRR and just watch it with subtitles, I would assume that's a better watching experience.
Either way, a great movie would recommend, and thank you for the recommendation.
No problem. I mean, I give this movie 5 stars. Again, it's in my top 10. It's one of my favorite movies ever.
I think I gave it 4.5. It's the meat confirmed. Frick, I'm a liar.
Actually, I don't think it's in my top 10. I think I just lied as
I gave
well.
it yeah, I gave it 4.5. It's a very good movie.
It is fantastic. Good songs, too.
And now I have to recommend you a movie. And I was debating between recommending you some hot stinky garbage or something good. Went with something good. I went with a movie I've rated 5 stars. I'm recommending you Psycho by Alfred Hitchcock, the 1961, the black and white 1960 Psycho.
I have not seen that movie. You'd think I'd seen it, you know?
Yeah, you have not seen it. I love this movie. I am a fan of the show Bates Motel. It's a show based on this movie. I think it's a prequel. The Good Doctor is in it, if that sells you on it. I like Bates Motel quite a bit. I like this movie a lot. I hope you enjoy it too. It is a spooky movie, so it's not. But if you want to watch it together, I am down. It is not long. It is great. Would recommend, and I am recommending.
All right, that good recommendations. All right, so we're gonna be watching Psycho. So that means next episode we're gonna be talking about Psycho in the Backloggd segment. But now it's finally time to reveal what the next episode's gonna be. We've been teasing it all episode.
Yeah. So at the time of recording, Marvel released their newest movie as part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Haven't talked about MCU in a movie in a minute, and we'll talk about why in the episode for this movie, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But next time we'll be talking about, to a lesser extent, the entire Deadpool trilogy. But more importantly, we'll be talking about Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yep. So stay tuned. Make sure you follow us so you don't miss it. So stay tuned because next episode, hopefully in a timely manner this time, we're going to be talking about Deadpool and Wolverine.
I think it is a safe and fair assumption that we will record this one soon, since the movie is still relatively fresh in both our minds. We saw it together 2 weeks ago, right? Yeah, 2 weeks, almost, maybe three, maybe three. No, we saw the 28th. So yeah, 2 weeks.
It was last week.
So come back and we'll talk about the Merc with the Mouth and Hugh Jackman.
And with that, thank you guys so much for taking the time to listen to this episode. If you liked it and you want to hear more, then make sure to follow us on Spotify or whichever podcast program you're using to listen to our voices right now. If you want to follow us on our social media for updates and news, make sure to check out our link tree. It's linktr.ee/fresh-off-the-reel, no spaces, no caps. There you can also find a place where you can recommend us a movie or a TV show, and we'll take that recommendation and we'll make it into an episode. We love seeing recommendations from you guys, so let's start to get them coming now because I finally have a fixed schedule that won't change, so we can actually plan things.
Yeah.
Thank you guys once again so much for watching. May thy knife chip and shatter, and we'll see all of you in a theater near you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
There's a fine line between, like, when you're doing... Sorry, hold on, there's a fucking car alarm happening outside.
I heard a beep beep.
Is it over? Okay. Alright, cut here. When you're acting in, like, a fucking bitch...
Beep beep.
What's going on outside? And, like, it just... Alright, cut here. I'm waiting to see if there's gonna be another. Okay. As soon as I start talking, it's gonna honk.